Upon its release, Celeste quickly became one of my favourite modern video games. It had a breathtaking soundtrack, an incredible pixelated art style, tight responsive controls, and most importantly, polished, fast-paced platforming. This was all I expected based on what I'd read and heard about the game, and it's all I thought I needed to get enjoyment out of it. But unbeknownst to me, the game had a lot more going on under the surface, and it went on to deliver one of the most meaningful gaming experiences I'll never forget. Celeste is a game about physically climbing a mountain, whilst mentally battling anxiety and depression. I would recommend it to every single fan of platforming games, as well as any person who has ever struggled with their own mental health. I'll be blunt, over the years, like many others, I have struggled with my own mental health. I live in quite a disconnected bubble away from my family, and my emotional support network has felt quite non-existent at times. In many cases, this is self-inflicted. I've bottled up countless feelings and not felt like I could freely express them to anyone, as well as belittling myself and my achievements at every opportunity. It hasn't been good for me, but I often find that I get stuck in a cycle, building myself up just to knock myself down again. It's almost as if I climb and fall off a mountain on a week-to-week basis. When I played this game for the first time, I was immediately taken back in the way that Celeste approached the topic, and in a shocking sense, I found that a video game talked to me better about my own feelings than many counsellors, friends, experts and online articles ever had done before. The game's biggest strength is its lead character Madeline. On a quest to prove something to herself, she has given herself a project: climbing to the top of Celeste Mountain, a location that is rich with mystique but also in itself a daunting and dangerous task. On her journey, she passes a magical mirror and is confronted by her own inner self, who proceeds to torment her throughout her journey. She believes that reaching the top will fix her, and it's something I can very much relate to. I've taken on a number of projects over the years in hopes that they will fix me, but a lot of them haven't stuck. As well as this, I can relate to her calls to her mum and the way she talks about herself. In fact, her character in general is very relatable in my eyes, and throughout the game I could often see myself in the character's shoes, despite them being tiny and pixelated. But what moments in the story stood out to me? Spoiler warning ahead. Her conversations with herself are a start. They're absolutely brutal. She puts herself down at every opportunity, being forced to run away from this part of her on some challenging occasions. She meets a ghostly hotel owner, Ashiro, who even in death can't quite cope. Helping him clean his hotel, this reminded me of the countless occasions I've cleaned my bedroom in a state of distress. After making it to the top of the mountain, Madeline falls to the bottom and is forced to begin the climb all over again. This is exactly how I've felt when the going has got rough, and I break a cycle of positive thinking. Madeline's around the fire chats with Theo are very real and hard hitting. The game does an amazing job of simply presenting them as friends with slightly different outlooks on life. Theo likes to take selfies and doesn't seem to worry as much, but through conversations with him, we realise he does in fact get scared. He just handles his feelings in a much different way to how Madeline would. In the end, Madeline ends up saving him, and it's a nice new perspective on what you'd expect their relationship to be. Madeline's panic attack in the lift scene is another cutting moment that demonstrates how scary and hopeless anxiety can feel. This introduces an amazing coping mechanism with visual aids that has got me through some tougher situations in my own life. Perhaps the most real thing the plot accomplishes is Madeline's realisation that she can't just do away with the bad part of herself. After turning the tables from earlier in the game, Madeline manages to chase down this part of her and has a chance to finish it all. But she instead shows tremendous growth. She accepts that this will always be a part of her and isn't necessarily her biggest weakness. With this in mind, her nemesis becomes her friend. She grows stronger in-game through an extra boost mechanic, but also in her dialogue. Her worry confides, as she accepts who she is, and it's a beautiful sight. But the game's story isn't the only thing that affected me on an emotional level. Surprisingly, I found that the platforming gameplay also taught me a lot about myself too. This game is hard. I've still not fully finished the extra heaps of content that are available post-game, and the B-side and C-side alternate versions of levels absolutely push you to your limits. So much so that you often have to sit back, think about what you are doing, and even take a break. When you have so much going on in your head, it's really important to do this in real life anyway, and the success I had in levels after trying to slow myself down really hit home with how I manage my own panic and stresses. If there's a will, there's a way. You have a lot of chances in life to sort stuff out, even if it is trial and error. Nothing is set in stone as long as you find a way to work through it. Now, this is hammered in further by the in-game death count, which cheekily lets you know just how many times you've perished in a level. Sure, it's there for those hardcore gamers trying to beat the game with as few deaths as possible, but to me, I saw it as encouragement that it's actually okay to not succeed at something straight away. A reminder of a concept that I always forget and constantly beat myself up over. You've tried to beat a level over 100 times? Who cares? That's 100 times you didn't give up, and it gives you a real sense of achievement. The presentation of this game is the final thing that had a real impact on me. The ambient music is incredible and managed to make me feel a full variety of emotions as I progress through the game. The soundtrack is so meaningful to me that I actually find myself listening to it when I'm stressed out or feeling a little bit overloaded, and every single time I find the tracks help me forget about everything else and get a little bit of perspective. These are all on Spotify, by the way, check them out. The cute art, gorgeous mountain landscapes and an amazing colour palette are the final touches of a game that just makes me feel relaxed when I play it. This game deserves to be talked about more. It's really helped me, it's really changed my outlook, and it could also do the same for you. As well as that, it's a lot of fun, and I really hope it isn't the last type of game we see in this style. There will always be a mountain, there will always be a challenge, but as long as you are still breathing, you will always have a chance.